Hello there, I'm Chaz Marler from the Pair of Dice Paradise Board Game Podcast. And today, I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to be taking a look at a game that was graciously sent to me to do a preview about. The game is Eternity Wars by Alice Entertainment. Now, the box says Patrician Wars, but the name of the game has since been changed to Eternity Wars. So pay no attention to the box, it's lying. Now, before I get into the nitty-gritty about this game, I want to first give you an idea of why it caught my eye in the first place. Now, back when I was in college, some friends and I played a homemade game that was half RPG and half tactical miniatures battles. It was our go-to game, and I spent hours working on characters, creatures, and quests for it. In fact, I went so far as to map out the entire game world. I drew up a large world map on a 10 by 10 grid, and each of the 100 spaces on that large map was itself made up of another 10 by 10 grid map, and each space of which of that was comprised of a 10 by 10 playing field for miniature battles. The end result was a world consisting of a world map and micro maps, all together creating a playing field of 1 million specific spaces over a square mile of virtual real estate within the game. Okay, so why am I prattling on with this trip down memory lane? Well, two reasons. First, I just realized that I used to have a lot more time on my hands. But second, I wanted to share that story to provide some background to explain why Eternity Wars caught my eye when I heard about it. It's a board game inspired by real-time strategy computer games of the early 90s, like the original Warcraft. But it also incorporates the ideas of developing your empire on a large macro world map, and then, when battles erupt, zooming in to a smaller micro map to play out the battle in tactical combat. This dichotomy of macro versus micro environments really piqued my interest when I heard about it. So let's zoom in ourselves and take a closer look at the game. Now, first of all, this is a prototype of the game. These aren't going to be the final components. In fact, the artwork, the rules, and other things are subject to change. So please keep that in mind during this overview. But here's the big idea about the game. Players start out on the large world map, which contains several zones to place their buildings and units in. Most adjacent zones can be traveled between, but there are some obstacles, such as these trees, which will prevent movement between the zones. That's kind of nice, because the way the zones are designed encourages the players to continue moving forward towards each other as their empires expand. Similar to a real-time strategy computer game, players will need to manage several resources in order to increase the number of units and buildings at their disposal. These resources are gold, generated by gold mines located in several spots along the world map, food, which is generated by several types of buildings, such as farms, and population, which is increased by other buildings, such as a castle. The large world map is used to manage the growth of your kingdom. Workers build and harvest gold and make structures which unlock new buildings, allowing the production of even more units and buildings, and so on. But if that was all there was of this game, expanding and expanding your empire like some sort of card-based ant farm, then it'd just be called Eternity. But this is Eternity Wars. So let's see how the wars part of this thing works. When one player's units cross over into a location populated by their opponent, then the units and the buildings in that location zoom in to the battle map to engage each other in tactical combat. And here's how that works. The battle map is divided into several regions. Any buildings from the location on the world map that's being invaded are placed into the build zone. Then each player places some or all of their units in their front and rear zones. Units must start on the battle map in these locations. If the front and rear zones are full, then units may be placed in the flank locations. Now once all the units are placed on the map, players take turns moving and attacking. Some units can only attack orthogonally, while others can attack both orthogonally and diagonally. Each unit has a certain number of hit points and damage that it deals, and some attack only the spaces adjacent to them, while others can attack from a long range. Some cards also have special abilities that add to or bend the rules, And using those special abilities to your advantage will be key to victory in combat. As units take damage in battle, they receive damage markers, and when the number of damage markers on a unit meets or exceeds its hit points, it dies, and then it's moved to either the dead or afterlife space, depending on the rules for that particular unit. The game has several conventions that keep things moving, which is nice. For example, units can't move backwards or attack behind them. They can turn around 180 degrees, but that comes at the cost of using an action to do so. Additionally, if a unit becomes situated with enemy units in front and behind them, then its defense is drastically reduced. And lastly, while you don't have to deploy all of the units that you had stationed in the invaded region, if all of the units that you have deployed to the battle map are destroyed, then any units that are still in your hand that you haven't deployed yet are also destroyed. You snooze, you lose. Now, this was of course just an overview of the game to provide you with an idea of what it's all about. Eternity Wars looks interesting because it gives you an epic game of area control and resource management while allowing you to periodically shift gears into tactical combat mode. Now, I find that dichotomy between the two extremely intriguing. Now, if what you've seen about Eternity Wars interests you, then you can find out more about it on their website at, strangely enough, eternitywars.com. They've posted several videos there with even more in-depth rules and examples of gameplay. Check it out. And of course, if this is a game that you'd like to play, then back their Kickstarter campaign. Their Kickstarter campaign is also linked to on their website. Now, hopefully Alice Entertainment will have the opportunity to bring this innovative game into production. If you have any questions about it, I'm sure that they would welcome you to contact them. As for me, I've been Chaz Marler for Pair of Dice Paradise, and I'll see you next time with more board game news, reviews, and previews. Thanks for watching and take care. So, why am I plodding down this trip down memory lane? Why did I say that sentence that way?